Welcome, friends, to State of the Federation. I am your host, Delta Angelfire, the Armchair Admiral, Will Sanchez. I go by many names, devoted follower of the founders and the Borg, and today we have a great show for you. I am joined tonight by David and Tucker. Why don't you guys go ahead and say hi and introduce yourselves? Tucker.
Hi, David.
Hey guys, I'm Dave. I was on last week's episode. I'm coming to you from Central Valley, California, Modesto area, and playing in a ship pure meta, and happy to be back on here.
Excellent. Tucker?
Hi, folks. Straight out of SoCal, I'm Tucker. I'm playing in a very large meta, several stores, upwards of 50 people, all said and done. Most of the venues I play at are what we call penalty pure. Anything where it would cost a faction point to put on a ship is not allowed. I do have some crossover faction mixing allowed, though. Mateo down in Long Beach. And I'm going to plug my OP. For the love of God, come to our OP1 on August 7th. Please, please, please. That's about it.
Nice. And of course, I'm based in Florida. We've got a fairly healthy OP scene down here. We had 16 people for our last event, so not looking too bad. We play though unrestricted. You know, anything goes. All the crazy power combos you see, they're gonna get thrown at you in one way or the other. So I'm the crazy one here, I guess. But yeah, for the show tonight, we are going to be going over everything pretty much from OP2. Everything's been spoiled recently, whether by Terry or by eBay. We've got the what are they called right now? Fleet Captain cards, the Fleet Captain resource. We have the OP2 prize, which is going to be the Raven and all the cards there. And we're going to be going over the scenario in general with some strategies and what kind of fleet you're probably going to be likely to see. Sound good, guys?
Sounds great.
All right. So with that said, I've already got my Fleet Captain's reference up on the screen. So I think that would be a great place to start. Let's see. Do you think we should start with the... do you think we need to go over the full resource card, or do you think we should just jump right into it?
It's worth summarizing, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to read the whole thing.
That's true. All right. So for those of you who haven't seen them yet, the Fleet Captain cards are essentially a lot like the flagships. You take one, you assign it to a captain, and it gives certain bonuses to that captain. The primary one being it'll increase their captain skill, and the secondary being that they get an additional text ability, and you get some bonus upgrade slots on your ship. The biggest one of these is going to be ones that have a talent slot on them, either grant you an additional talent, or they grant you a talent for free. That's a pretty big one right there. The rest, I mean, you have the regular slots as well. Tech, weapon, crew that you can add on to. And let's see, is there anything else specific for the fleet captains in general that you guys can think of?
You have to throw them on unique.
Gotcha. Non-unique, so that you have to... this means that all of the Borg tactical drones do not qualify, as well as all the level 1 captains, they do not qualify either.
Right.
And the free elite talent.
So which one?
The free elite talent.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I went over that.
Oh,
and if you either get an extra talent or one of your talents is free. Now, there is some debate as to what free actually means, but I'm going to assume that it reduces the cost point to 0, so if you have faction penalties, they will still apply.
That seems to be consistent with previous rulings in the deck here.
Right.
I feel that seems reasonable. So, moving on, just like the man, I can't talk today. What's the other one I was comparing these to? The flagships.
Yeah.
So just like the flagships, you have 4 faction-specific ones and 4 independent ones on the reverse side. The specific faction ones do have to be on a matching faction ship for a matching faction captain. So you can't get the Federation fleet captain with the Borg Queen on a Klingon bird of prey. I don't know why you would do that, but it could be fun.
Well,
you can't, it's also worth mentioning. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, to take that even further, you can't put a Federation fleet captain on Picard and then put him on a Borg ship.
Indeed.
So, just a little extra restriction.
Correct. That's what I was going to say too.
Okay.
And we know how much we love Picard on Borg ships.
Well, of course.
All right, so I guess we'll just get started with the first one. The Federation fleet captain. By the way, all of these resources are 5 points, so pretty nice and cheap, which is, you know, very applicable to like everything. So, Federation fleet captain, he gets a bonus of +2. He gets upgrade slots are a tech and a weapon. And his ability is, after you move, you may target one friendly Federation ship within range 1 to 3, or your own ship. The target ship immediately removes one disabled upgrade token from one of its disabled upgrades as a free action. All right, so just to start, Tucker, what are your initial impressions on this one?
Okay, so the big thing to notice about this, first of all, okay, tech upgrade slots, tech weapon, pretty good. Tech is strong, weapon is not so strong. Captain skill bonus +2. Like, Fed needs that on top of 9 skill captains and Emerald Kirk to begin with. The really big thing to note here is that it says, you may target one friendly Federation ship within range 1 to 3. All it has to be is a Federation ship. Doesn't matter what's on it. The target ship immediately removes one disabled token from one of its disabled upgrades. Does not have to be a Federation upgrade, and that is huge.
Right.
If you're running con on any Federation ship,
The Reliant.
that means the Reliant. Yeah, sure, why not? That means that you can remove a disabled token from Linux. You can remove it from
Quantum
impulse. Quantum. Well, the point I'm trying to make is it can be anything. It doesn't have to be a Federation thing. I mean, quantum torpedoes obviously is clearly one of the things you're going to be doing this with. Get yet another torpedo boat. That was the first place I went with this. I know Will is not fond of torpedoes, but the point is, you can get any. This is, I think, the first time in the game we've seen remove a disabled token from anything as a free action, and that is potent to me.
Yeah, I think we've seen some stuff like remove from a crew or remove from a tech or something like that. But, right, this is universal. This is anything you want on any Federation ship.
And, I mean, this is looking ahead a little bit, but next month's grand prize, Assimilation Target Prime, is going to be dual faction Federation Borg.
Right.
So remove a disabled token from assimilation tubules. Just a thought.
Yeah. Oh, that's something. I mean, yeah, because I mean, obviously we have no idea it's going to be on Assimilation Prime, but yeah, I can see running Picard on that with. Well, Picard and tubules won't drive. But anyways, there's a lot of options. I think that weapon slot on the Federation fleet captain is a little underrated. Because there's a lot of times you have a ship with one weapon and you want to throw like secondary torpedo launchers from the Sutherland on it. Or something like that. Or maybe on Voyager you want transphasics and quantums or something like that. So that extra weapon slot is useful.
It is, and I was actually going to say the same thing about the tech slot. Like, the problem that a lot of people who started from like Wave 2 and 3 would remember is that the Federation has very limited access to tech slots. And
I mean,
yeah, because the D have one.
The D didn't have one. The Enterprise didn't have one. We're a little better now with the Reliant, with the Defiant and stuff, but the Reliant didn't have one either.
But I mean, all those. I mean, aside from the Jaeger, the Jaeger, the Reliant, the D, and the original series Enterprise are actually the only 4 ships without a tech slot. Everything else has one.
Mm-hmm.
So that.
Well, they're really good ships too. An extra tech slot never hurts either.
That's true.
Throw that Federation. Throw that Federation cloaking device on something.
Throw that Federation ablative armor that we're going to talk about later today on there.
Ooh, very nice. That comes with the Raven. All right, so anything else we have to say about Federation, Captain?
Other than I really like that you can use it to target your own ship, I don't have anything else to add.
That's true of all of these. The big difference between these and flagships is that all of these abilities you're going to see on the faction-specific ones can be used to target your own ship. That's huge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also the other thing that also I don't know if we mentioned this, that sets them apart. All of the faction-specific ones, just like this one we're seeing here, is basically granting you a free action that is not limited to certain things for the most part. Like before, the only extra actions you could get from like a flagship were limited to your action bar or the special free action that they gave you, you know, either the battle stations or the scan or something. These give you free actions that with more flexibility. So like you said, re-enabling assimilation two wheels or things like that for this guy.
With the exception of the Romulan.
True. I think the Romulans kind of got a little screwed on this one, but
let's. I mean, that's the next one on the list, so maybe we should just move there.
Oh yeah. So the Romulan fleet captain gives a captain skill bonus of +2. All of the faction ones will give +2. The upgrade slots it gets are weapon and crew. And one of the things I feel that's bad about this is that the talent is very powerful on these, so not getting that is a downside. And as the text ability, after you move, you may target one friendly cloaked Romulan ship within range 1 to 2 of your own ship, or your own ship. The target ship immediately performs a sensor echo as a free action. David, how about you for this one?
Yeah, I think the Romulans are the red-headed stepchild again. Now, Will, maybe you can weigh in on your thoughts with this, but since it doesn't say immediately after you move, would you be able to cloak your ship and then use your fleet captain ability to sensor echo?
No. That came up with the Excelsior very early on.
Okay.
Yeah, so, after you move, so you wouldn't be able to use it on your own ship. You would have to be using it on a friendly ship in that case.
Right. So, right. If you're already cloaked, then it's good, but yeah. Outside of that, now you either have to run 2 Romulan ships, which is doable, or you have to find a way to stay cloaked.
Which isn't a terrible problem.
Well, it would be very easy if you had advanced cloaking, but guess what? There's no tech slot on this fleet captain.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It's so bad. This is
because, you know, what the Romulans needed was another weapon slot.
Right?
To go along with their plasma torpedoes, and maybe additional weapons array.
Maybe.
All of which fill the same purpose.
And let's not forget, by the way, they don't need more crew. I mean, you know, you can run let me just double check this here. Yeah, the only named ship that costs 18 points or more that does not have 2 crew slots is the Vortivore. And I just look at these ships and I go, why? I mean, I look, Romulan crew, they have some good options. You know, they have the tactical officer, they have the Romulan pilot, but I have never looked at a Romulan build and said, I need more crew slots, ever.
Right, same here.
So this is clearly the worst of the bunch for me.
I would have to agree with that.
What I can see is this being very useful on, like, the Vo, the Apnex, something like that. Give it the weapon, throw Donatra on there, get her moving at skill 8. So that opens up some possibilities. But, again, you're having to make it work.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, look, I'm not gonna knock Sensor Echo. Sensor Echo is good, but it's not this good.
Right.
Yeah, like all the other faction fleet captains for this got, you know, a lot of variety and choices in their free action. This one, not so much.
Not so much. But what I would consider to be the real Romulan fleet captain is actually later on in this list, and I won't say what it is until we get to it. But
Gotcha. So I think that's it for this one.
God, please, yes, let it be. Let us never speak of this again.
The Dominion Fleet Captain. All right, again, +2 captain skill. This one nets you an elite talent, which, as we said before, either grants you an extra elite talent or a free elite talent. And also an additional crew upgrade, which I think Dominion actually kind of needed.
Yes.
The text ability. After you move, you may target one friendly Dominion ship within range 1 to 2, or your own ship. The target ship immediately performs an action on one of its non-disabled tech upgrades as a free action. All right. Tucker, you're up for this one again.
Okay, so the first reaction I had to this before I even got to the ability was because the Dominion really needed another way to put Wayun and conditional surrender on every single ship. It even gives you the crew slot you need. This is ridiculous. But that aside, this is a potent text ability. Now, I'm sure both of us, I'm sure everybody involved, immediately on seeing this, rushed out to their favorite list of things and saw what tech there was out there that had to be disabled. There's not a ton, but there are some very good ones. Cloaking device. Tetrion emissions.
Mm-hmm.
Tetrion emissions is probably my favorite, actually, because it does most of what cloaking does without having to disable. You know, the Ferengi Impulse, I think, is a disable. And again, this doesn't say Dominion upgrade, this is any.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And what's really hilarious, by the way, is if you can get this on a ship. What was I going to say? I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there. But I like this card, especially with the Ferengi Impulse. I think that's probably my favorite. Thing to use with this card.
Yeah, I'll even throw out the idea of using it to let a friendly ship do a suicide attack, because they'd be activating it later on in the round.
Is that
maybe even last if you do it right? I mean, Gold Ducat with 7, skill 7 Ducat with the fleet captain going up to 9. Letting a cheap, patrol ship do it late. It's not perfect, but it's something.
That's an interesting thought. I hadn't considered that. I like it a lot.
That is true. And just to add on to what we're looking at here, I just did a search for all texts that require an action, and there are remarkably few that do not require a disable or a discard. And a lot of them are like tractor beam, woo, or
well, with that said, look, let me put it this way. One huge thing you can do with this is free action projected stasis field if you have it on a Dominion ship.
That is not a bad choice.
Yeah, I think. Really, in mentioning suicide attack, David leaves us to something good, which is there is no reason not to use this on some very valuable non-disabling cards. Things you discard to use. Let me put it this way. Your opponent spent all of his action cloaking. Use it on a sensor grid from the Vulcan ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other things that, interesting things that it could apply to. A blade of generator.
Ooh, that's cute. Cannot happen.
You would need a Voyager. You would need a Voyager and a Dominion ship. That would be kind of weird. The Borg self-destruct sequence.
During the next activation. Now, see, the thing is that one activates at the end of the next activation phase. You might as well just do it with that ship's action.
Yeah. How about quantum singularity?
No, that was another one that I thought was that was one I really thought was interesting.
Oh, that's so silly. That's so silly.
Although, quantum singularity can only go on 8472. But
true, but if you get a little Dominion 8472 thing going, you have your you don't need the species captain. You can use like Ducat or something on one of your ships, and then send the.
No, you guys, it has to be on a Dominion ship.
Oh, does it say that?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. One friendly Dominion ship.
Yeah.
Aw. Oh, that's right. That's sad. That makes me very sad.
Yeah,
Oh
so
well.
no ablative generator either.
No, so not that many shenanigans you can pull with it then, unless you're going to self-destruct a Keldon class.
No. Let me give you a really good example of what you can do with this. I've actually been doing this for a very long time with Martok, but this works similarly. I will routinely take a Klingon build with a sideboard and projected stasis field on the sideboard against Voyager. Or not Voyager, the Borg. Yes, it would work against Voyager. Anyway, so what I do is, because normally if you have PSF on your ship, Borg can just come in and steal it. So what you do is you get a captain that moves after the Borg move. You move their ship. You use that ship's action to get the PSF, and then you use the Martok, or in this case, the flagship action, to activate PSF. So you get it off the sideboard and activate it in the same turn.
That works for Klingons. The problem is we still need it on a Dominion ship, and putting PSF on a Dominion ship gives it an Ox token.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So you'd either need to continue the combo with the Vulcan control room or the new Scotty.
Like yeah.
So I mean, it seems like there's some things you could try to pull with this, but
at the very least, look. At the very least, it'll give you Petri animations every turn.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's definitely not bad. That's the only problem that keeps it from not being as good as Cloak in my mind. That you only get it every other turn.
Yeah, and I like this better than Cloak because you keep your shields.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else we have to say about this one?
No.
Don't think so.
It's all right. It gets you that Wayun conditional surrender.
Oh, for God's sakes, enough with that.
All right, moving on to the Klingons. Bonus skill of Captain skill of +2. Bonus upgrade slots are an elite talent and a tech. And the text ability: after you move, you may target one friendly Klingon ship within range 1 to 2, or your own ship. The target ship immediately performs an action on one of its non-disabled crew upgrades as a free action. And this one, I actually think might be the best fit for the faction fleet captains in general. David, can you see what I'm thinking about here?
Drex, Garen, yeah.
Yep. The go-to crew abilities for them.
Right.
I can't think of anything else that I would use on them, but you could throw any kind of Federation cool crew person on there on a Klingon ship, and they could probably get some good use out of it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Even Klingon boarding party, but I mean, at that point, you're better off running the Nagbar. But still, it's another option.
Oh yeah, the elite talent is all right, I suppose. I don't really usually run elite talents. Maybe it could get you a free defense condition 1, and I think that would be really good.
It could also get you a free once more into the breach, which I would definitely run if it was 0 points.
I'd run anything if it were 0 points.
At the very least, take a Kapla. There's no reason not to take a Kapla if you get a free talent. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And the extra tech slot on here also helps you out if you're trying to build an advanced weapon system fleet. You can still fit projected stasis field on there somewhere just in case you need it.
Which is highly useful.
And will continue to be more useful, I think.
If you're not faction pure, hey, you know, feedback pulse or something. Like, tech slots are good.
Cloaking and feedback pulse aren't really the best match, but is there anything else that would work good with this? I don't know. Advanced cloaking is always fun.
Yeah. I mean, I just like the elite slot being able to get some of those lower level Klingon captains that still have useful abilities. Worf.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
So it's a good card. I think that the Klingon's quite possibly the best fit, but the Federation is also a good fit.
Making Worf a 7 is also pretty big too, because one of the things I think that hurts him most is being a 5. He shoots after a lot of stuff.
Yes.
That's true.
In any game I've seen Worf, he always dies first. Sorry, Tucker, did I cut you off?
And remember also that No, it's okay. Remember also that Worf on the initiative chart is before everything except Federation. So against many builds, he's actually an 8. He'll shoot before Gul Dukat if he's +2.
Mm-hmm. Which is pretty nice. But yeah, Klingon Fleet Captain, pretty good. Has its uses.
Did you get that?
Yeah. Making Worf a 7, firing before a lot of the other 7s, yeah.
And give him once more into the breach because it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Moving on then, the independent sides. All right. So all of the independent fleet captains also grant, what is it? They also grant the captain the independent faction. So the captain is now dual factioned. And all of these give a captain skill bonus of just +1. So not quite as big as the previous ones, but that is still something you can work with, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would apply more to you guys with the faction or penalty peer kind of things going.
Yeah, I mean, one extra skill point on your captain helps. Having him be independent also, it doesn't hurt. Again, that depends a lot on your TO and what their stance is on independent cards. Kind of, do they make you unpure or not? And
yeah, anecdotally, you hear tell of a lot of folks who, at their venue, can put independence anywhere they want, and this is a way. There was a poll on Board Game Geek a while ago that effectively asked how many points would you pay for. And if you're willing to pay 12, and your faction will let you put independence anywhere, now you can put them anywhere.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was going to say, you came out a little garbled there, but I think you got the point across.
Yeah, sorry, my connection's bad for folks at home.
But yeah, all right. So I mean, continuing with the this independent Federation fleet captain. Bonus upgrade slot is just an elite talent. The text ability is, after you move, you may target one friendly ship within range 1 to 2, or your own ship. The target ship immediately performs an additional white 1 maneuver, forward, bank, or turn. This thing, I think, has a lot of possibilities. I'm not sure if it's better than the independent Dominion flagship, but Tucker, what do you think about it? Did I lose you?
You want to know why it's better than the independent Dominion flagship? Bank your Borg cube. Bank your Borg cube.
If you can do that. There is a question of whether or not that is possible.
It is not. It does not say on its. It does not say take some additional green or white maneuver. It says perform some additional white 1 maneuver, forward, bank, or turn. It very explicitly says you can do a forward, a bank, or a turn with this. Bank your Borg cube.
Yeah, my only problem with that is that there was a ruling done on Jadzia Dax, who is almost the same wording. You may immediately perform an additional 2 maneuver, straight or bank, and it does not work on a Borg ship because the Borg ship does not have banking movements. At least that's how it was ruled.
So would that then take out any ship that doesn't have a 1 turn? Can they not do a 1 turn?
Mm-hmm. I think that's the problem. Is that pending a ruling, I'm going to have to assume that if you don't already have a 1 turn, that you don't get a 1 turn.
Yeah, in that case, I'm not terribly fond of this one. No upgrades beside elite talent is harsh. I mean, think about it on Voyager, for crying out loud. That would mean you get an additional white 1 bank, period. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's not even green when it's usually green.
Well, I mean, paired with Reliant Chekhov, you'll get green, but still.
And with the notion that it's immediately performs an additional, so you have to use it on a ship that has already moved.
That is a possibility.
Yeah. They did rule that.
I would have to check the FAQ on that, but I think that what you're saying is correct.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let me put it this way: if you can bank your Borg, this is awesome. If you can't, this is pretty not great.
This is on the realms of Romulan named and
It is not that bad. There are uses. It is not
True.
that bad, but it is pretty bad.
On the bright side, if you do put this on something with a white 1 turn, you can basically use the skilled helmsman for free.
That's correct.
Get your double turn, or you can do some kind of really weird shenanigans where you get to turn around and then turn again. I suppose the best way to use it is going to be on itself.
Most likely, yeah.
Because this gives you an extra movement option to help you align wherever you need to shoot.
I'm just not sure that's worth your resource slot. For 5 points, I would definitely buy this, but I'm just not sure if it locks me out of running something else, you know?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it's tough to give that up just for what you're getting. The elite talent's nice, but every other independent grants an elite talent plus.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. And speaking of them, I think I think we tried, poor Independent Federation Fleet Captain. We tried to love you, but you just weren't up to snuff. All right, moving on then to the reverse of the Romulan Fleet Captain.
Stepdaddy banking Borg.
What was that? All right, so continuing.
Nothing, don't worry about it.
Independent Romulan Fleet Captain. Again, captain skill of +1. This one, and along with the other ones, you'll start to see a pattern. Upgrade slots, a free talent, and 2 weapon slots. The text ability is all your weapon upgrades cost -1 SP for all ships in your fleet, including your own ship. Can we say cheap weapons? David, what could you do with this?
Off the top of my head, I see a way of getting 2 transphasics in there now, or any kind of torpedo boat. This actually helps. I don't know that I love it, but I definitely don't hate it.
I suppose that's the most we can ask for some things. Tucker, what are you thinking about this one?
Well, here's what I'll say about this one. It is easier to get weapon cost reductions than any other thing in the game right now. If you take Toth Gore, reduces all your weapon upgrades on a ship by -1 squadron point. You take Sakona, all weapon upgrades on a ship that costs 5 or less costs -2. You're looking at, with these, all that together, you're looking at a bunch of 3-4 point weapons. But the problem is, in my opinion, honestly, weapons just aren't that good. Oh hush! I just don't see, aside from maybe a couple of transphasics, I just don't see us. I mean, how many weapons do I really need? You know?
Oh,
secondary torpedo launchers, maybe. I don't know, Dave. You expressed more excitement about this, I think, going in. So you give your opinion.
Volley of torpedoes. That's what this card does. This card sets up
for
the volley of
God's
torpedoes volley
Oh, for
at a
God's sake.
cheaper cost.
The super volley,
Yeah,
Well-
the super volley of torpedoes.
which
Yeah.
was coincidentally just mentioned in the chat.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
I-
what this card does.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that.
Volley of torpedoes now costs 2 points with Thought Gore and with Sakona,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which seems pretty crazy. There was a question: could you equip aft particle beams for free? You can equip even more than that for free. Assuming you're adding on some of the crazy things like we are with Thought Gore and Sakona, you can get dorsal weapons arrays for free. Never re-enable a weapon for as long as you fight.
That's correct. Yeah, on the good old Gore Portos, you could get With Sakona, you could get 7 weapon slots, something like that.
Probably pretty easily. Like with the Ravelarest, and if you wanna throw in cold storage units onto something.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that's right. Or the Kornak, you know, that's also 7, I guess. But yeah.
So a lot of useful weapon volume. It's honestly, it's a Dominion upgrade.
Yeah, this is probably secretly the Dominion, the second Dominion flagship.
Yeah.
Or fleet captain.
All the super cheap weapons you can afford.
Yeah.
You have 2 or 3 extra points. You could either get your Breenade, or you could get 3 copies of Dorsal Weapons Array.
3 copies. Jesus Christ.
Of course, that's assuming you have 3 copies of Dorsal Weapons Array.
Hey, I bought my 3 Kornaks. I'm a good Dominion player.
I did.
Worth mentioning, actually, a couple of my venues allow proxies. So, yeah.
So all of a sudden we're looking at 20 copies of Dorsal Weapons Array?
God, no. It's so stupid. This is so stupid.
No, but I think that would get even sillier with the next one. I think are we pretty much done with this one? We know what cool stuff it can do.
So yeah.
It's pretty nice. The thing that makes me sad about it is that you don't get the free action or the free movement out of it. But the cost reduction, not bad.
Not bad at all.
Now, Tucker, I know you've been waiting for this one.
Oh boy, here we go.
Independent Dominion Fleet Captain. Captain skill +1. Bonus slots, talent, tech, and tech. And all of your tech upgrades cost -1 point for all ships in your fleet, including your own.
Okay, this is the Romulan fleet captain. Right here.
It is.
You want 2 upgrades for your Val door for advanced cloaking and interface? You got it. You want 2-point cloaked mines on all of your ships? You got it. This is awesome. You want a free elite talent for counterattack or massacre or even invasion plans? Looks pretty good at free, let me tell you. This is awesome. This is I am a huge fan of this one for the Romulans, but I'm sure Will is very excited to tell us about a silly thing you can do with the Dominion on this one too.
Oh, wait, what was the one I was talking about with this one?
Shroud.
Oh, geez, that thing. Well, we all know the usual Wayun conditional surrender shenanigans. But in addition to that, if a Dominion captain actually gets a hold of this, -1 SP makes Shroud a free upgrade.
Yeah.
So throw it on one of your Keldon classes. You can fit 4 Shrouds on there for free. And beyond that, if you have another person that's using conditional surrender, like say Ducat, he can also still get 2 or maybe 3 Shrouds for free on his ship as well. Doesn't that just make you all warm and fuzzy inside, David?
That makes me worried about how many 4th Division battleships I need to go out and buy.
Right. Hey, like I said,
because I already have 2.
I mean, look, what I would do, honestly, forget Ducat. I'd have 1 ship with Ducat as an admiral and Wayun 6, give him the elite talent slot, then put, I don't know, Damar or Thought Prawn on the other ship, give him conditional surrender, you know, give him 4 Shrouds for free. I mean, have fun, you know?
I'm only negating, you know, up to 5 attacks a turn or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why we love assimilation tubules.
Yes, that's correct.
This is why every fleet will need to have one.
God.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, apart from Shroud shenanigans and my other favorite, which was the Cloaked Mine shenanigans, anything else we can think of using this for?
There are some tech upgrades on the Raven that are very strong for the Federation. This lets you run them on more ships.
That's true. The adaptive shielding, and well, we'll get to those when we get to talking about the Raven.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cheaper feedback pulse is always nice. Cheaper quantum singularity for species 8472.
Yeah, you can fit 5 quantum singularities on one ship with this.
You'll never catch me.
Even a cheaper auxiliary control room for the Vulcans.
Cheaper projected stasis field.
Yeah. I mean, hey, interface generator now costs 2.
And you can have more of them.
And you can have more of them. So.
I was going to say, since for a while, I think the tech slot has been one of the most useful slots that you can get a hold of.
Yeah.
And now just getting 2 more of them on any one ship you want is pretty big. Especially for ships like the Valdor, which didn't have any to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like this one.
10
out of 10 would run again.
Yes.
Correct.
All right. The last one we have is the Independent Klingon Fleet Captain. Captain skill +1, bonus upgrade slots, talent, crew, and crew. And all of your crew upgrades cost 1 SP less for all ships in your fleet. So the same basic stats, but this time we're going with crew. What can we do with crew? David. I'm throwing you on the spot here.
The whole list of crew. I'm looking at things like getting B'Elanna Torres for cheaper, getting Aaliyah for cheaper, getting Tom Paris cheaper. You know,
the Stealth Federation Fleet Captain.
Yes. It gives me a reason to pull Pike out.
Yeah.
Ship. Because now I get Pike at skill 7, which makes him pretty darn good. And now all of my crew costs 2 less. That's amazing. I will take a free Shelby and a free Lozier and a free Miles O'Brien from the starter.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Hey, forget. Well, not only that, but Pike isn't the only one with that ability. You can have Q in the same fleet, also giving everybody -1. You know.
So 2 different ships with -2 to all their crew.
Yep.
That gives you a lot of places to go.
Or, if you prefer, Will, tell them about lore. You were talking about this prior to starting today.
Oh, my favorite shenanigans to pull with this one is lore, who also gives you an extra crew slot. And because you get a free elite talent, and due to lore's special ability of being able to take any talent regardless of faction restriction, you give him Vulcan High Command. Vulcan High Command nets you either up to 2 more tech or 2 more crew slots. So that gives me a total of 5 free crew slots on any ship I want for basically no additional cost, since Vulcan High Command is free. 5 crew. What would you do with that on like a Borg cube?
You know what I would do is I would put a bunch of useless crew on a 3rd wing attack ship, and I would have lore. I would use the 3rd wing's native ability to disable one of those crew, and then lore's to discard it and get a total of +2 attack dice on a 22 base point ship.
And that's not even that difficult, because it might not be, well, it's not an independent one, but you do have the 2-point Breen Aid. That's only going to be 1 point for every slot that fills. Or the 1-point Followers of Khan, those will still be only 1 point, thanks to the discount.
If you don't mind taking an action, you can do it on the Gavroche, which is independent.
Ooh. Throw 5 copies of Follower of Khan on there for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could throw a doctor in there for good measure to re-enable them.
I like that plan.
Which is a nice segue into other things you do, other shenanigans, the doctor. The more crew that you can get to undisable at the same time, the more valuable he is.
Yes.
So I was looking at a little sardine ship that can fit, you know, all the crew that just disabled to do their ability. So we've got, you know, the new Montgomery Scott, Savick, the new Pavel Chekhov, all the ones that came in the Enterprise refit. What else was good on there? You can use Loger, so you can re-enable weapons as a crew with the Doctor. You have emergency medical hologram, so you can re-enable techs as a crew, essentially. So I could use whatever I want for the most part. I can have 5 different upgrades I can use on the same turn and re-enable them every turn. I don't know how efficient it would be, or effective it would be, but it would be quite efficient.
Mm-hmm. It would be quite fun, too.
Correct. Be hilarious.
I don't know. I think it depends on your opponent. It'd be like, all right, so I'm using this ability and disabling it, and then I'm using this ability and disabling it, and then I'm using this ability by disabling it, and now for my next turn, I'm going to use this action to re-enable this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. I feel they would get annoyed at that after a while.
A little bit.
Probably.
Oh well, who needs friends anyway?
Your ingenuity, though.
We will applaud the ingenuity.
One more thing, before we move on really quickly about the Doctor is, if you run him with Lee Nollis and Chakotay, you can actually even get an extra action in there for one of your crew.
Oh yeah, pretty much. And that'd be cool, especially if you end up combining it with, especially if you can end up combining it with the Doctor, or not the Doctor, with Julian Bashir. I think that will start causing problems in the near future.
Yeah, mostly because that'll make your turn take 15 minutes, and your opponent will leap over their chair and strangle you.
Wouldn't be the first time.
And this is where I am very glad that I have a friend going to Gen Con who has time to pick up a pack for me.
Talk to me about that after, Dave.
Yeah.
I was going to say good luck with that, because as far as I know, the Gen Con ones are limited to 1 per person per day.
Yeah.
Hope he's a good enough friend. Hope he's a good enough friend to wait in line another day.
Oh, he doesn't play the game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which is actually the perfect one to get, perfect type of person to get for it.
You lucky dog.
Please talk to me about this after. I have something I would like to discuss with you. Okay. We should probably talk about the Raven. We're hitting their 50th minute.
Oh yeah, that took a little bit longer than expected, but I think we can kind of speed through the Raven here.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up fleet captains, most of them are good. There's a lot of fun shenanigans and that adds a lot of options, and I think it gives you reasons to run these over flagships.
This is the only flagship that's come out that I've really thought or the only resource I should say that's come out that's really been competitive with flagships. I like the sideboard, but it's much more narrow use. This and flagships are my go-to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I could agree with that, especially since you still get most of the benefits of flagships, the extra slots, the extra action for some of them, and it's still the cheaper price to make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, moving on. The U.S.S. Raven, this is the OP2 prize, and we're probably just going to speed through this a little bit. The Raven itself, it's a 1-2-2-3, so very super tiny ship. An amazing hull value for the size of it.
Mm-hmm.
It only has evade and scan on its bar. It's got 2 tech, 1 crew, and its ability: each time you attack or defend, if there is a scan token beside your ship, your range combat bonuses are doubled. So
just run the Reliant.
It's not too bad. But I mean, compared to the Reliant, the 2 tech slots is nice.
It is. But the Raven, congratulations! You can get 3 attack dice at range 1. Go you!
Woo!
Yeah, as I said, run the Reliant.
If you took a scan.
If you take scan, yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's not too bad. Let me go ahead and actually bring up the movement card for it. Is not too bad either. It has the same dial as the like the science vessels and stuff. So all white and green maneuvers. It has a 2 white come about. So this thing is pretty maneuverable.
Look, this is a science vessel that in Faction Pure can't run cloaked mines. I mean, for God's sake, come on. This is just not... It doesn't even have a weapon slot. It can't even target lock. Even if you get a weapon slot on it, it can't target lock.
Yeah.
It'd be a decent spot for dorsal weapons or something, maybe. But yeah, I'm probably not running the ship as a combat vessel.
No. It's a support vessel. It's a mission filler, maybe.
Oh, yeah. So, not a bad little ship. But
I don't know. The question becomes, for 16 points, you know, would you rather have this or the generic blind booster Bird of Prey, which does have a tech slot? You know,
and can cloak.
And can target lock.
Well, I think we've made our point there.
Yeah.
Moving on. First of these tech upgrades that are actually that are pretty neat. The multi-adaptive shields. So this is actually kind of similar to
Navigational deflector.
That's the one. The one that everyone wanted to love but couldn't because it sucked.
Yeah.
This upgrade only functions while you have active shields, so there is a drawback. But each time you defend, you get an extra defense die. And when you defend, you roll your full defense dice in spite of an enemy's scan token. In addition, you roll full defense dice against minefields. This upgrade may only be purchased for a Federation ship. So, a slew of minor abilities. But, I don't know, I think they're pretty useful. Getting an extra defense die on top of, however, you know, a Tom Paris and a Sulu for basically for free, that can really boost your defense a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Minefield tech?
It goes back to what Tucker was saying. It's kind of the Federation's answer to Tetrion emissions. It's cloaking without losing your shields. So
that's pretty. That's a pretty neat way to look at it.
You have to use Paris and Sulu, and then it becomes really good.
Then it starts getting silly.
Then it starts getting silly, but your defense dice, in the end, won't save you most of the time. They'll certainly help.
Yeah. I've whipped too many defense rolls to play Cloakers ever again.
It's expensive for what it does. It works really well on the Equinox with the generating shield action.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but as a whole, I think it's a fair card. It's not must add, but I like it.
I think it'll definitely find a home on some Federation ships.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, look, if nothing else, if you don't have anything else to do with your tech slot, which is a position I find myself in sometimes when faction pure, sure, one extra defense die, why not?
Yeah.
Right, faction pure. Man, it sucks to be you guys.
You know, let's not have that discussion right now. That's a whole nother. That's
a whole can of worms. That's gonna. I'm sure we'll get hate mail and all that kind of stuff for.
Yeah.
Let me say one thing about it, because I've played both. It makes certain things more interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one's better than the other. It's just a completely different way to go about things.
Yeah, that's true. I would say in many ways it's almost apples and oranges. They're both fun.
I admit there's cool things that happen in any format you play in. So.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
I just like to give people grief.
Yeah.
Because I'm a terrible person.
Hey, we can take it. So
the minion player.
Fields, they're useful. I'd like them better if they were maybe 3 points, but then I think they'd be too good. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes 5 points just becomes this default tech cost.
Really what it is that Tom Paris himself is 4 points, and this does Tom Paris plus more.
Yeah.
So it has to be 5.
Yeah, but then I look at it, and to balance, tech is rarer than crew, especially on Federation ships. So making them the same could work, but and we can argue if Paris is overcosted, but that's another day.
Yeah, he's too busy getting drunk to be overcosted.
True.
All right. Next one we have is Reinforced Structural Integrity, another tech. And this is also only works on the U.S.S. Raven, or else it costs an extra 5 points.
Still possibly worth it.
Each time your ship takes damage, place one of the damage cards that your ship receives beneath this card. All excess damage affects the ship as normal. You cannot place critical damage cards beneath the card. And once there are 3 damage cards beneath it, discard the upgrade and all of the damage cards. So basically, it's about it's a little bit less than the Borg ablative hull armor for feds.
Yeah, except that it's 3 separate attacks.
That could be a problem at some points.
Yeah.
Yes.
You definitely want it on a bigger ship.
I hadn't noticed that. That's a good point. However, it does go on any ship that with a tech slot. That is a major mark in its favor. It's worth mentioning, by the way, that this is a unique card. So you're only going to get one.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It would have been way too good if you could have multiples.
That's what they said about Borg ablative hull armor.
But we do have multiples of that.
Yeah.
So, you know, this on a... I'm looking up the Federation.
I'd say you could still throw it on the Voyager in addition to the ablative generator if you wanted to.
Well, actually, my favorite place for this is actually the U.S.S. Defiant. Because you will never get critical damage cards. All your damage cards are going to be normal damage cards, so this will always work.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But you only have 3 hull. And that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Any 4 damage, even while cloaked, will still take you out.
Yeah.
That's true.
And with the big giant Borg and even species 8472 running around, it's one-shotting ships is not that uncommon these days.
You know what? I think I like it on the Excelsior. Of all the Federation ships, because the Excelsior has 5 hull. You want to stay away from people. I could like it on the Sutherland.
That's true.
I could even like it on the Equinox because of the shield regeneration.
Oh, in other words, you're saying it'll probably only let 1 or 2 damage through, and this will just get rid of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it'll bust through the 2 shields and do 1 to the structural integrity. Then the shields come back. You bust through the 2 shields again, and only 1. Yeah, that's a pretty good point.
I like that. I like that a lot.
That's at least a place to start.
Oh yeah.
It's
I was gonna say
a place that makes this card useful.
Similar to that. Similar to that. Another high defense build with just Paris and Sulu together again, or Sulu and the multi-adaptive shields. Rolling high defense dice, you probably will survive more hits, so that'll give it more of a chance to get through all of its damage.
I will say this on the Equinox, I definitely want to do a flagship if I'm going to put it there. In fact, here's what I do. I'm throwing this together in my building program really quickly. How about this, right? You put the Evade flagship on there, right? And you put Rudolph Ransom as a captain. So what you do is, now you're rolling 4 Evade dice base on a 3-2-4-4 with this ablative stuff for 42 points. And you're impossible to kill with your shields and your hull armor.
Oh, and that independent Federation flagship that gives you the free evade gives you another tech. So you could throw on and reinforce structural integrity.
for less than 50 points. That's really cute. I like it a lot. Done. Sold.
Sold. We found a use for it.
Great. Love it.
But it takes both cards.
Shh.
That's the thing.
Nah. I'd run the version without the shields.
Okay. Yeah.
That's cool.
All right.
But yeah.
Options.
Yeah, it has its uses. It's still not as good as the Borg ablative, but hey, you can't have everything.
Right. but it's better in the sense that it doesn't take a Borg slot.
All right, so moving on.
Moving on.
Research mission. Interesting because this is the only non-unique card in this pack. 2-point
Also-
independent talent. During the roll defense die step of the combat phase, you may disable this card to roll +1 defense die. Quick and to the point.
I just want to interject. The talent itself is sort of blah, but one of the interesting things about it, as Will pointed out, it's non-unique. This is important because this is the first non-unique elite talent we've had since Wave 2, when the developers specifically stated that they were not going to have non-unique elite talents moving forward. So this is interesting because this may be a sign of a developmental change. We may start seeing non-unique elite talents again, and some non-unique elite talents, engage, counterattack, have been very cheat death, for crying out loud, have been very strong historically.
Yeah.
It'd be helpful.
Back to research mission specifically.
Yeah.
Not a bad card. It's
all right.
not a discard, so I like it. It's
For 2 points?
if I have 2 points or 3 points left in my build, why not?
Yeah.
You
Say
know,
my only problem with it is that it's only to 1 defense roll,
Yeah.
so that if you get attacked twice, you can't use it again because you just disabled it. And there's currently no easy way to re-enable talents. You know, you have to do it.
Right.
You have to do it the old-fashioned way and actually re-enable it yourself.
Right. Yeah. I'd much prefer if that was add 1 to your agility value, or add
Something.
add 1 evade to every defense roll.
Man, that'd be really good. That'd be a reusable, invaluable advice.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I actually just got dropped out of the call for a second. What were you saying?
Oh, we were just talking about comparing it to other things and what we would like to see it for. You know, make it all turn long instead of just the 1 attack or 1 yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think as I heard you sort of say in a garbled manner, Dave, just having the 2 or 3 extra points, sure, why not? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's. Yeah.
And it's got flavor though. Research mission, man. Oftentimes you see that in the middle of a combat game.
Hey guys, let's go on a research mission. Uh-oh, Borg.
Oops.
I'm actually thinking more of Star Wars here. We're on a diplomatic mission.
Sure you are.
Sure,
We
yeah.
just
All
came
right.
here to scan your planet. That's it. Don't blow us up. Never mind.
Sure, yeah. Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a bad card. It's cheap, so it does something. So it's better than some other cards out there.
Yes.
Let's see, on to the next one. That's just your blank Federation Captain, the blank Airy class, which I will stop on the blank the blank Airy class for just a second to show that it has 2 tech slots but no crew. A 1-2-2-2. I don't know if I'd ever use it, but who knows? The tech slot it could make a good support ship somehow.
If you're running the Independent Dominion Fleet Captain, 20 points gets you this and 2 copies of Cloaked Minds, but that's about all I can think of.
Yeah.
Maybe throw some. No, it wouldn't work with the Dominion. The Dominion faction one, but you know, EM Pulse I like on little ships like that.
Yeah.
I think I'd still rather have a Science Vessel or a Vo though.
I completely agree, which is why I don't like this ship at all.
Aw. Alright, moving on to our captain, Captain Magnus Hansen. That's a pretty...
Yeah.
I like the name. It's a pretty manly name, I think.
Yes.
During the defense die step of the combat phase... Oh,
Modify defense die step. That's important.
what is that in response to? Give me 1 second, guys. I'm reconnecting to something.
Okay, no problem.
It looks like I might have lost my connection to Twitch.
You did. I'm watching it right now, and it says you're offline.
And okay, it looks like I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. And little connection problem, but going back. Magnus Hansen. During the modified defense dice step of the combat phase, you may spend a scan token to add an additional evade result to your defense roll. You do not pay a faction penalty when assigning Magnus Hansen to a Federation ship. So, Tucker, what do you think?
All right, so my initial reaction was I like this guy a lot. He's what SotF should have been. He's interesting, and because you're spending the token at the modified defense die step, which is probably about the last possible time you want it, he actually stacks with T'Pol. In that T'Pol... Wait, does T'Pol require you to spend the token to do it? Yes, never mind. Ignore me. Okay, so good old Magnus here will let you scan with Voltaine and then spend the token if you attack first and then defend to add an evade die result to your roll. However, as Will was pointing out to me prior to the call, he's only a captain skill 3. Now you can put him on a Fed ship and give him Kirk and give him +2, and maybe you can give him an independent captain on top of that. But even then, you're just looking at captain skill 6, and that's really just too low for this ability.
Yeah.
You know, it does mean that you can scan, and then if you really need that evade, you know, you can scan for Voltaine, and if you really need that evade, you can change it to an evade before you attack, but I don't know. It's just hard. It's just hard. The one major advantage I will say this is he is a 2-point independent captain with an elite talent, and that's big.
Right.
That is pretty nice. Actually, I wasn't thinking about that before.
I think he's the lowest skill captain we've seen with an elite talent slot.
He is. Before this, it was Data and the Gorn captain. Both fours.
Yeah.
He's also, now the thing is, he's the same price as Data and the Gorn captain, and of the two, I would usually rather have a Gorn captain. I think his ability is probably more useful. But yeah, he's not bad.
The Gorn commander cost you 3, so he's actually a point cheaper.
He costs the same as Data then. Data's 2, but his ability is more useful than Data's is. So he is the cheapest, and he's independent, which can be important to some folks, you know.
I always like more independence.
I do too. That is why I was so sad about Gavroche.
But yeah, you know,
one thing that's, I'm sorry, I just want to interject this really quickly. One thing that's kind of funny about this is that Research Mission, Magnus Hansen, and Aaron Hansen are all independent, which means you end up paying, with the exception of Magnus, you end up paying a faction point penalty for all of those because they don't match the ship they come on. Another secret blow to ship purity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of evidence for it lately that the developers are trying to say, no, really, we don't want you to run ship pure. But I could point to a trend in that.
Yeah. Another day.
Another day. We don't need to get to that on here. But yeah, Magnus Hansen, pretty good ability. Sad that he comes on such a low skill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's good for him. Our last card, Aaron Hansen, and then we'll be wrapping it up. Well, for the Raven anyway. During the planning phase, after all ships have chosen their maneuvers, you may discard this card to target an enemy ship at range 1 to 3 and look at that ship's chosen maneuver. You may then change your maneuver. The target ship cannot change its maneuver after you look at it. So this is the Species 8472 Captain ability, but a one-shot at a longer range.
Yeah, longer range doesn't take an action.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because the 8472 Captain says if you do it, then you don't take an action, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. And I will say, by the way, for the folks at home that made the same mistake I did, you can change your maneuver, not their maneuver, your maneuver.
Yeah, and just on Aaron Hansen's ship, not your entire fleet.
Yeah. Well, I was having visions of Wayoon plus this equals I fly you off the board, but so that was incorrect. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to counter with something with faked messages as a similar ability, but nah. The good thing about this, though, is if you do use this with Wayoon, you can look at their maneuvers every turn.
Yep.
And basically do whatever you want.
Yeah, you basically get the biochip captain, except at range 3 instead of range 1, which is decent.
Because it's still taking your captain's action for the most part.
Yeah.
Unless you're stacking it with like a flagship or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, not bad. But, I mean, for the same price and almost the same effect, you could get Uhura. And I think Uhura does about the same thing.
Yeah, Uhura will let you see what everybody's done, I think. Let me just double check. I'm looking her up right now.
Because Uhura happens when you're about to move, and you get to change your movement. So if you're moving last, you see what everyone else has done. Or if you're not, depending on how high of a skill your captain is.
Yeah, and I mean, this is on an independent card. So, I think it's a different enough ability that they both have their uses. They cost the same, so Uhura's better in some circumstances. Good old Aaron is better in others. You know, 6-1 half does the other.
Yeah, I buy that. I think Aaron's good for your low skill captains, and Uhura's great for your high skill captains.
Right, and the other thing is, what Aaron does is let you look at a high-skilled captain and say, well, I know what they're going to do, so I am going to choose the actions of all my low-skilled captains accordingly, which Uhura does not let you do.
Right. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good
so
point.
it's again, they have different uses.
So cool. Not bad.
Yeah.
But that's our last one with the Raven. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
One thing that is nice about this is the only card in this pack that is not unique, aside from the generic, is Research Mission, which is not that great. What that means to me is this is a prize ship that you only want one of, and it's the second one in a row where that has been true. This gives me great hope that WizKids has noticed that the secondary market on prize ships is nuts and it needs to go down. And that they've stopped putting you in a situation like, for example, with the Burrells, where Klingon could legitimately want 4 Burrells.
Yeah.
That was a really good ship.
Yeah, and Barrage of Fire was unique. Barrage of Fire might have been unique. Was it unique? I don't remember. I don't own a Burrell, so I can't tell.
No, it's not. Barrage of Fire is non-unique.
Right. There you go. So now you could legitimately, so you could want a bunch of Barrage of Fire, you could want a bunch of Burrells, whereas with this ship,
of Defense Condition 1.
Yeah, exactly. With this ship, even if all you want is multi-adaptive shields and reinforced structural integrity, well, they're unique, so you're only ever going to need one, which I think is great. I think that's awesome for the game.
That is nice. There's a lot less pressure in some of the OP events.
Yeah. It means that as a TO, I'm going to get one. I don't need to start going out and, fighting like a devil to try and win some of these OPs,
Which means that you may have more fun playing in the other OPs. You may come up with some crazy builds, and that makes the game more fun, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Cool. So, hopefully the start of a nice trend, and that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Although we'll see what the Stargazer does in OP3.
And young Picard. I hope there's a young Picard.
It's never going to get run over regular Picard.
Yeah, true. But one can hope. We'll go with, it'll be thematic in some fleets.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so that's the end of the Raven for us. And let's see, we're running a little long, but I still think we should get to some of our OP2 strategies. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna completely skip over the OP2 rules introduction and assume that everyone knows what's going on in it.
If not, pause your broadcast. Pause the recording you're listening to of this. Go look it up. It's at wizkidsgames.com/thecollective. Read it and then come back.
And I just put a link in the chat on Twitch for it.
There you go. There you go.
Exactly. I mean, the basic setup is there's a cube on the other side, and you're racing to put as much damage on it as you can before you're all blown up, or
And
until
it
time is
fires-
called.
Yeah, and it fires at every ship except the furthest away. Pretty much.
Unless there's only one ship, at which point it shoots at that.
Yes,
Mhm.
and it gets more powerful the fewer ships on the board there are. So
Mhm.
there's the quick rundown of the scenario.
Exactly. So, I'll start with David. David, what kind of fleet are you thinking about taking to this event?
So I've had a couple of different thoughts. I'll start with my best thought at this point.
Okay.
I am going to take, or thinking of taking, the Valdor
Mhm.
with the independent flagship Federation that gives a free evade and a tech slot.
And a
I'm
second
going to
action to a friendly ship.
Yes. With interface generator, Toreth to turn a hit into a crit for that extra damage bonus on the Borg cube,
Okay.
and counterattack so that I get to shoot, be shot at, and shoot back.
So getting a little extra damage in there, that would be good.
Right. So if I do a green maneuver with the flagship Valdor, I'm rolling 6 attack dice both times and turning one of my hits into a crit.
Mm-hmm. But you don't have anything to work with the battle stations or blanks.
That is true. I have thought about a tactical officer, but my hesitation with that was that
Action economy?
Action economy, because counterattack takes that attack every turn, or that action every turn. It's not a solid thing at this point. It's kind of in flux. To bolster that, I have a couple of different thoughts. I could either go with a Bioship Alpha with a generic pilot, just gives me pure stats. That brings me up to 90. I've thought about Voyager with Ben Sisko and Aaliyah to just get in there at range 1, take a battle stations every turn, and
just keep firing.
Just keep firing and re-roll a blank with Sisko every turn.
That's pretty cool. All right, so you're looking at basically like a 2-ship build that just keeps pouring on damage. No special fancy tricks, really.
No special fancy tricks. Yeah, because I'm in a ship pure meta, I don't have any way to deal with battle stations on Romulan ship. So
Gotcha. Interesting. Tucker, what are you thinking about?
All right, so the first thing I'm going to tell you is my OP2, the first OP2 in my area, which I'm going to, is next Monday. So I should have an AAR for you that's an after-action report for those at home next week.
Ooh.
Which I will be able to, at the very least, give you a rundown of what happened. With that said, here's what's going on. I am taking a very simple build. I am taking generic Vorcha Martok 8, generic Vorcha Gowron, generic Vorcha Worf. And that's it. That's 90
Good old 3 Klingons.
3 Klingons. You know, range 1 with Gowron, 20 attack dice. Get in there, attack, target lock with everybody. Just go in there, roll a lot of dice quality, get right up in the board space, and just, you know, hope that my Vorchas, which have, you know, 7 hit points each, live through the bombardment of the Borg, and just come out with a lot of damage tokens.
Not bad. Do you have? So, are you expecting to turn around for a second pass, or are you expecting to get destroyed before having to worry about it?
I honestly expect. Here's the thing to know for you guys at home. Unlike in OP3, which I'm sure we'll talk about at a different time, in OP2, the Borg is just rolling attack dice. It doesn't have any rerolls. It doesn't have any battle stations. It has no quality whatsoever. So let's assume I have 3 Vorchas plus my blind buy. That's 4 ships. And of course, if my opponent has at least 1 other ship, probably 2. If they have the Borg cube will only, if there are 5 or more ships, the Borg cube will only attack the 4 nearest ship with 5 dice each, with no rerolls, no battle stations, no quality whatsoever. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
this very well means I could survive for a very long time if that board cube just keeps whipping, you know?
Which would be nice.
Which will be nice. I have not had an opportunity to really test this out. It's something I should do, but I've been busy with work. So, but the long and short of it is, this is something where I feel like the answer is just go in there with a couple of big scary ships. I think Keldon classes are also good options for Dominion.
Yeah.
Go in there and attack. What about you, Will? What's your plan?
Oh man, I've got so many plans. The one I'm looking at most right now is I like both of you guys are going for some pretty straight up offensive. I'm actually looking to try to screw with my partner a little bit. I like the idea of the Borg sphere with Borg tractor beam on it, and then a couple of the maybe like the generic Galgathongs, like the little Romulan bird of praise.
Right.
Okay.
This lets me, I can cloak every turn with the birds of prey. I don't actually have to do too much damage with them. I'm more banking on them for the bonus damage that you get for firing with all your ships in one turn.
Right.
On top of that, getting them with cloak, the 6 defense dice of cloak, if I can, I'd love to modify that some way with either like Shelby or Evec or Battle Station somehow. But that, a 6 die boosted defense should last pretty well, like you were saying earlier, against a 5 die unmodified attack, which is what the Borg are doing.
Yeah. May I suggest a different option that I've seen bandied about, by the way?
Go for it.
One thing I've also seen bandied about is attack cancellation, weigh in barrel, weigh in conditional surrender, or what a lot of people are seeing is energy dissipator. In other words, energy dissipator says, now it's worth mentioning in the rules, and I will specifically call this rule out, anything that says the Borg cube can't attack, it only works on the ship you use that from. So energy dissipator doesn't mean the Borg cube can't attack, it means the Borg cube can't attack the ship that fired the dissipator. Okay,
correct.
Well, the energy dissipator is non-unique. I mean, if you wanted to, you could field 2 Keldons, say, with an energy dissipator each, and go up there, and with Gul Dukat and Bohica, you would guarantee a hit with your energy dissipator. So your ship is basically invincible. Maybe throw Wayun conditional surrender or Wayun barrel on the other one, and just go up there and attack it in that way.
Oh yeah, keep going for infinite attacks because they can't ever kill you.
Right, exactly.
That was definitely something I considered.
That the energy dissipator is only range 1, so you have to be careful with that. And it's also a disable when you use it, so you need a way to re-enable it.
Well, you can get your action every turn. I was very careful when I said Dukat and Bohica, because Dukat gives you that battle stations for free.
Yes.
He's been one of my kind of staples.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in a anything goes meta, I would be running Dukat on a Keldon class with energy dissipator and Aliyah. And probably some way to prevent discards, just with my opponent wanting to mess with the combo. Yeah, something.
Assimilation tubules, just so you can't pull those shenanigans.
Yeah. You know, just a way to protect myself from that combo. Because I like the idea of being able to fire effectively every turn and not be shot back.
Oh yeah, but see, okay, so here was my thoughts on that whole matter. There's been a lot of debate on the forums and stuff of whether actually surviving forever is actually better than just piling on damage in the span of a 1-hour tournament round. So assuming that you get about, the Borg cube is going to be attacking a lot, so I'm going to assume the average round timer length is going to be 7 to 8 rounds, because that seems to be about what we got in OP1.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that.
So how long? The question is, how long does your opponent's fleet last if they're running, you know, like what Tucker's running, just the straight up Vorchas, not even cloaking, just trying to shoot as much as they can every turn. And
well, it's worth mentioning it's worth mentioning, you know, if you're only running the energy dissipator is expensive, which means you're running fewer ships, which means your opponent is getting hit with more dice.
Which is a good point.
Yeah.
And another reason why I like to try to screw with people, because with the tractor beam, I can forcefully drop them out of cloak and hopefully kill them faster.
Yeah. I have two things that I want to bring up before we're done. I'll bring up one now. One is the debris tokens. And the rules specifically say if the Borg attack through a debris token, the attack's obstructed and you take no damage.
Here's a question I wanted to ask you guys about that. It occurred to me, and I'm speaking with some rules guys here. What happens, does the Borg attack things in an order, or does it attack all things simultaneously? In other words, if two ships are shielded by the same debris token, does the attack get canceled on both of them?
The simplest way I would see for a TO to resolve that is that it goes actually in order from closest to furthest.
Yeah.
Well, I could see an alternative argument where you could say it attacks all things simultaneously, so that anything that's blocked at the end of the round, it doesn't get attacked.
See, the other way I would interpret that would be that it fires in a random order. I would never feel like it attacked everything simultaneously. Like if it would have done that, it would say attacks everything in range 3, something similar to like I stab at thee or something, you know, hitting everything in a range equally.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, look at the unique Borg sphere though. Or the Coronac or something.
Yeah, divide your attack, because with those you still divide your attack into 2 separate attacks, and you do fire them in order.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's probably like that then. I mean, it's hopefully that'll get cleared up. I say this as a TO that anticipates some headaches. So.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say the other way that it could go is that it fires randomly at the closest ships, in which case you just take, you know, 5 target lock tokens, A, B, C, D, E, and then just drop them randomly on the different ships, and then go in that order.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's actually a good way to do it.
Oh yeah, we had to do something similar with the orbital weapons platforms back in Dominion 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a good. It might be. I haven't done this, but it might be worth looking up to see if there was any kind of ruling like that made for the OWPs, because I think they work similarly.
I think I remember asking about it, and I'm pretty sure it was random, but I'd have to find the ruling again. That was back when Andrew was in charge.
Oh God, so you have to look in the 300-page monstrosity.
Hey, there's a search function. It actually works remarkably well.
Okay. Yeah. So the.
So we went through debris tokens. There was something else you wanted to say.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
All right, while you think about that,
see if I can come up with it.
I was talking about Tucker about another interesting strategy, and we were going on about, I believe it was quantum singularity.
Oh yeah. See, this was okay. So here's the deal. I mentioned this last week. I did not realize how close the Borg cube is actually going to be to your ships. I was under the impression that if you moved at full speed, it would take you a couple rounds to get there. So I was like, oh ho, I'll just teleport across with quantum singularity or transwarp conduit. And the problem is, no, if you take a 5 forward, you're actually going to be in range that turn. So that's not too good. But the one thing you can do with transwarp or quantum singularity is consistently make yourself that last ship that's furthest away and won't get attacked. It's another survivability option, exclusive to the Borg and 847-2. And it's a cute idea. I'm not totally... At that point, I'd rather be doing something with an energy dissipator, probably.
Yeah, my concern with that is that, yes, you're surviving, but you're also doing no damage.
Yeah, that's true.
And then when you are the ship in range, you're going to be taking more dice.
Right, and it's worth mentioning, by the way, on the no damage front, that extra battle point for getting 20 more damage than your opponent is clutch. You need that, especially considering that this is a series event.
If you're behind from OP1, like I am, that can make all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, and that
For extra battle points, you always want extra battle points.
Yes, and there are going to be, it's like the Siege of AR whatever in OP Series 1, the Dominion War. I mean, there are going to be assimilation target primes handed out based on OP2 damage. That's gonna seal a win for some people. I guarantee you.
I'm with you on that.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
that is the question. Will you have? So going back to the questions we were saying earlier, is the fleet that pours on damage, even through the even with the extra maybe round or two, some of their ships survive with the debris tokens. Is that going to be long enough to stack on so much damage that an energy dissipator player won't be able to catch up? Because the problem is, I think, if any of their ships even manage to survive that long, that they'll just keep adding on damage at a faster rate than you can catch up.
Right, and then the issue becomes, once there's so few ships left, rounds are going faster and faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this though.
Go ahead.
The energy dissipator, that's an extra attack you got to make every turn.
It does no damage.
But it takes time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And time can be against you, especially if the board cube is rolling 5 attacks for a couple turns. Because that's like a separate player altogether.
Yeah. Though I will say this: if you are playing a energy dissipator build, it may behoove you to try and get a little bit, a little more slow in there, because you can not rack up that initial damage. Some other builds may not be able to come back.
Mm-hmm. That's why I elected to go with the 2 birds of prey to support my big sphere, so that I still have good maneuverability. Like the sphere may or may not, depending on what I choose, may or may not have an infinite defense, but it can easily dance right at range 3 from the board cube token.
Right.
So if anything else is attacking the cube, my sphere is not getting attacked.
I like
and
that.
Especially if I can helpfully speed along the demise of my opponents by strategically removing cloaks and or shields.
Yeah. It's a cute trick. It's a cute trick.
So I did remember my other question.
Gotcha.
I'm debating fighters, and I want to know what you guys think about fighters in this build. Either Hideki or Federation. I know they have such low evade, but I know for sure that they will absorb 4 hits.
Mm-hmm. Before going down.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to take one of them, I'm going to take Federation. That extra survivability could certainly make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
One thing I will say about the Federation fighters also, they get some natural dice quality in there, which is nice.
All right.
And if they actually get rerolls because of it, if they just fly up and smack into the cube every round. So that's a thought to consider.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they're a little slow. I believe 4 forward's the fastest.
Yeah,
3 forward is the fastest.
3 forward. Oh yeah, never mind then.
3
That's
bank
hard.
is actually a little bit faster than that, so
Right.
consider
You
3
can
banking.
bank and then bank. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just another thought. It's it was one of those, if I don't go Valdor flagship to get the tech slot for interphase, then I think I'm going that direction. So.
The nice thing about them, though, is that because of their maneuver dial, if you can maneuver them into range 1 with them surviving, they can go almost parallel to the cube and shoot at it, and then do a 2 U-turn and still shoot at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a white for them.
And
So they still get actions.
A double 3 bank will get you in that parallel zone.
Are you sure a 5 straight will get you up in the cube in the first round? That seems a little close.
I think it's range 3 that you get.
Because the board cube, assuming the board cube is as big as it was in the last event, it starts 4 inches from the far edge.
I would have
It means that the edge of the cube is 9 inches from the end of play.
I think is it only 9? I was thinking a little closer, maybe 10.
I thought the token was 5 inches.
It is. It's 5 by 5.
Okay.
So you're setting up 4 inches away from the end, or are you setting up 8 inches away? Is it range 1 or range 2?
It's 4
range
inches.
1. So
you're setting up, so you've got 9 inches from the edge of the board until the board cube. So that means you have to cover 27 inches from the bottom.
25, because you're setting up within range 4 as well. So
Right.
So what you need to do is you need to cover 25 inches with a template plus the length of your ship.
Right.
Now, I am almost positive a board cube with transwarp drive can do that easy.
Yeah.
A board cube, yeah, I would say yeah.
I have to.
Voyager
I would,
can do it with a 6.
We'd be close.
Tell you what, all you folks at home, get out a measuring tape and try it.
Make sure you know beforehand.
Yeah, make sure
Right.
exactly. You know, and make sure that when you, I mean, look, have a plan going in. That's the most important thing. This is not one of those OPs where you can just take your favorite strong build like Tholian Web and just go in and expect to win. This is one where you're really going to have to sit down and think about what you run and how you fly it.
Oh yeah, and I was going to say that. That's always a good job. A good idea is you have to have a strategy or a plan going in for at least the first 2 or 3 turns. You know, have a setup strategy. Have a strategy for where you want to put those debris tokens.
And know that
Absolutely.
you're sharing that setup space with your opponent.
Correct.
And so
and
that's
and I
initiative
will-
coming into play and all that.
I will say this. I'm not, as I said, and something you folks at home may want to consider is running generic captains, because they will be put down first and the board shoots last anyway.
Right. The Borg essentially have skill negative infinity.
Negative skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
But yeah, you know.
if you're really worried about your opponent's placement, take generic captains.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be too big of a problem though. I think space is big enough for the both of us.
I
That's
think
correct.
so.
I would concur.
But yeah, I guess then to summarize, what would you say that people should be focusing on in their builds?
Dave, go ahead.
I'll start. It depends on your restrictions, as Tucker and I showed versus what Will's talking about. I'd say if you're anything goes, then you're looking to be able to pump out as much damage and survive as long as possible, because you can do both. If you're ship pure, fleet pure, something like that, try to, either focus on pumping out damage and having good maneuverability to keep getting shots on that board cube. Because if you fly past it, remember, it shoots at you, even if you can't shoot at it. Yeah, I think, some way to get multiple attacks per turn, something like, counterattack is going to be useful. Something like once more under the breach for Klingons being able to make 2 attacks at 1 less die each. It's
Rapid fire.
useful.
Yeah, having 0 defenses is nice.
Yes. So there's, I think, the scenario all comes down to damage, but your ability to do damage also depends on your survivability.
Correct.
So you need to not have, a bunch of science vessels, because they'll do almost no damage and they won't survive.
I appreciate that. Big ships, get close. That's my plan.
Yes.
Get close and pour on the damage.
Yep. Big ships, get close, live long, and prosper.
I thought that was live fast and die hard.
Might have been live free and die hard.
Eh. Well, you're not going to be living very free once the Borg assimilate you.
Yeah. You can't win against the board.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
only
will
go to
add
time.
that it might be a good idea to take more ships so that the Borg are shooting less dice for long.
Yeah, that's why I was saying take 3 big ships with fewer upgrades.
Yeah, rather than one gigantic ship or 2 good ships.
This is not the time for a Voyager Dreadnought.
No.
Probably not. Unless, well, you could survive forever, but I don't think you'd have the damage output.
Yeah, well, if you're doing a board cube build, maybe board cube with tractor beam to screw with your opponents. That might be a thing to consider. But other than that, yeah, a couple big ships, a couple big bars, a couple Vorchers maybe.
Yeah, so that was my idea. These guys are all about offense. I almost always like to hybridize my fleets somehow. So I'll have a few ways to screw with my opponents on at least one of my ships, and then maybe a couple of just the small Romulan ships, just because they get 6 dice and will probably survive a little longer against the 5 dice attacks. So not the most damage, but I'm also not ignoring my opponent either.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. So I think that's our advice for OP2. Any closing thoughts?
Pretty much covers it. I think we're getting close to overtime anyway, so I'm just going to shut up about it.
We're a little bit over, but
I think this is one of the most thematic missions we've seen. I think this is right up there with the arena in terms of theme. And our first co-op mission as an organized play.
I will also say this. My girlfriend is a very new player. She's very, very excited. She provides me sort of a lens with which to view the new player community. She is super excited for this event. It's a very simple objective, as much damage as possible. It's very fun because you're just sitting there rolling loads of dice. You know, you're not trying to outmaneuver anyone, except maybe your opponent a little bit. You know, it's fun, it's friendly. I think this is going to be a great scenario that also challenges the experienced player. So I'm very happy with this one.
Yeah.
I like the assessment.
Nail on the head with this mission. I think they created something that's a great challenge, but that anyone can go in and play and do at least halfway decent.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about the insane combos that your opponent's doing, because there is still a good chance that you could still outdamage them.
Correct.
Right.
All right. I think that'll do it for today. I don't see any questions in the chat right now, but we'll give them, just a minute. If you guys just want to say any last thing about the show in general, the final wrap-up about anything in Star Trek. Tucker, anything for you?
Go to OP2, get the fleet captains.
Oh yeah, that's going to be good.
Even if you don't play, go pay your whatever, get your blind buy if you have to get a blind buy. Pay your $5 if you don't, and then get a fleet captain just because they're going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Participation prizes are always fun.
I think
Go ahead.
The fleet captains are probably the best resource we've seen since flagships.
Agreed.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty good. Right. David, anything else from you?
No, I'm good.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us then on this State of the Federation. We went over pretty much everything OP2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You can find, future episodes and announcements and things over on Facebook, facebook.com/State of the Federation. This will go up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and there will be a link on the pages. And also, you could find us on the podcast RSS feeds, feeds.feedburner.com/State of the Federation. And yeah, thank you, Tucker and David, for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and thanks for everyone in the chat for joining us. Let's get out there and blow up some Borg. May Q be generous with your dice, I believe.
Kapla!
Have a good night, guys.
Night, guys.
Night.